Great. So, everybody, the purpose of today is for us to be able to hear from you. I want everyone to be assured that this presentation recording will be shared online at cchealth.org /hazmat if there's anyone else in the organizations who want to see the presentation afterwards. But really our goals today is that we want to try and do our best to answer any questions that you have during the session and hear all of your comments on our proposed fee structure. If we're not able to answer comments today, we will be getting back to every single person who commented either today at our meeting or who has submitted a comment to our division through our email or other means within a 30-day period. Our public comment period does officially run from June 17th to July 17th, so we are still accepting comments from people that time. So as we get started, I want to start off by giving an overview of the Hazardous Materials Division. The Hazardous Materials Division starts from an organizational perspective with our Director of Hazardous Materials Programs, which is myself. Associated with our division is our Hazardous Materials Ombudsman. The Ombudsman is responsible for being another avenue for the public or businesses to communicate with the Hazardous Materials Division. Should you have a complaint that you would like to bring to the division's attention, that is their role. So they do not directly report to the Hazardous Materials Division, but we work very closely with them in helping to resolve issues that come about from our businesses or our community. Then directly reporting to the Director of Hazardous Materials Programs, we have our Integrated Pest Manager. We have our Clerical Supervisor, who has 2 clerks reporting to them. Our Hazardous Waste Reduction Manager, who has a Pollution Prevention Specialist reporting to them, and that is the team that oversees our Green Business Program. And then we have recently changed our structure a little bit. About 2 weeks ago, the Board of Supervisors approved adding 3 new positions to the Hazardous Materials Division. These positions are known as the Supervising Hazardous Materials Specialist. So our Assistant Director now is overseeing both the Supervising Hazardous Materials Specialist, those 3 new positions that were just approved, and the Supervising Accidental Release Prevention Engineer. And then those supervisors will oversee the hazmat specialists and the accidental release prevention engineers. And for those of you who are from our regulated community, those are the people you're probably most familiar with because they are our inspectors who will go out into your sites and perform the required regulatory inspections. Our mission here at Contra Costa Health Hazardous Materials Program is to protect human health and the environment by preventing pollution, increasing process safety knowledge and environmental awareness, responding to incidents, and implementing consistent regulatory compliance and enforcement programs. The way that we do that in the Hazardous Materials Division is that we are the ones who are implementing the Certified Unified Programs. We have an incident response team, we have our Green Business Program, and we have our Integrated Pest Management Program. Now, the Integrated Pest Management Program is funded outside of the CUPA permit fees, and we are only here to talk about CUPA permit fees, so I will not be focusing on that program. But I do want to take some time to talk a little bit more about these 3 items that are still here on the slide. So in terms of the Certified Unified Program Agency, Contra Costa Health is the agency that is certified to implement these programs. We have our inspectors go out and do the regulatory inspections. We assess permit fees to be able to go and do these inspections, and we will also do any regulatory follow-up and help businesses return to compliance. Our Certified Unified Program Agencies, or CUPA programs, consist of the following. Our Hazardous Materials Business Plan, which is the program for basically any business that is that has hazardous materials on site. And this can be from a very small amount of hazardous materials to some of our largest chemical facilities and refineries. Then we have our above ground petroleum storage tank. And just as its name says, we are implementing that program to oversee those storage tanks that contain petroleum as defined by the regulations that meet certain regulatory specifications. So this includes anybody who follows the federal spill prevention countermeasure and control rule that has greater than 1320 gallons with a shell capacity of 55 gallons, or for tanks in underground locations, which is a new portion of the regulation that has been introduced. That would be, you would be someone who would be regulated by that above ground petroleum storage. For the underground storage tank program, these are tanks that are underneath the surface of the ground. Then we have our California Accidental Release Prevention Program. This is looking at some of our higher risk facilities that contain chemicals above a specified threshold that are on a list. There is 256 chemicals on this list, and if you have any of those chemicals above threshold, you would be in the CalArc program. And then we have our hazardous waste generator program, which is really focusing on hazardous waste and how they are handled, treated, stored, and disposed. So some of the things that I would like to highlight about our CUPA is that here in Contra Costa County, we do over 4,000 inspections completed annually. We have a very high level of engagement in our division with what is known as the CUPA Forum Board and the associated work groups. This allows us to ensure that our inspectors are regulating consistently with other CUPAs within the state of California from other counties or other cities or other jurisdictions. Right now, we have regulatory oversight and we have assistance in helping businesses who are now having to convert from single wall to double wall tank conversions for underground storage tanks. And as I mentioned, in the last slide, we have been working on the implementation of the tank and underground area APSA rule. Our CalArc program, or California Accidental Release Prevention Program, has also been responsible for overseeing independent investigations. Most recently, this has been from large incidents from refineries such as the Martinez Refining Company 2022 spent catalyst incident and the Marathon 2023 fire and injury to an employee. In addition, in 2017, a whole new program level was implemented for the California Accidental Release Prevention Program, which has increased the amount of regulations on refineries and therefore has added to what our inspectors do when they go out to those sites. Now I'd like to focus on our incident response team. The division has a 24/7 response team that has 6 people in rotation. They are trained to the highest level of hazmat response, which means they are a type 1 team, and they provide services for certain things such as transportation incidents, chemical releases from facilities, abandoned chemicals, and drug labs. This is not a comprehensive list, but really is just meant to highlight some examples of the ways in which our incident response team is providing services to the community and to regulated facilities. I'd like to take a minute to focus too on some of our incident data over the last 10 years. So on the chart that I have on the screen, you can see we have for the last 10 years, the number of incidents, notifications, and complaints. Complaints are really, someone might call in and say, I am seeing some dust on my car. I'm concerned that this might be a release from a refinery or other facility. Notifications would be something that comes into us from a facility that says, I just want to let you know that, maybe the notification will be that, we're flaring or we've had a spill, but we're able to contain and clean it up on site and we do not need the response team to come out. And then incidents will be those things where our response team will have to deploy and go on site. And again, that can be anything from picking up an abandoned drum, responding to a drug case, to a large incident at a refinery. And I just wanted to show, over the years, it has been a little bit up and down, but fairly consistent that we're seeing close to 400 of incidents, notifications, or complaints where our hazardous materials team has to take some sort of action. And then the last program that I wanted to highlight was our Green Business Program. Our Green Business Program is really focused on helping businesses certify as a green business, which means they have found ways to reduce their use of energy, reduce pollution, reduce the solid waste they have on site. We are promoting, alternate means of transportation to help conserve, air quality, and also doing a lot of work around pollution prevention in terms of water usage and getting the message out to the community by participating in various community events such as the John Muir Earth Day, or as this picture is showing, the Bike to Work Day that is sponsored every year. And so the reason I wanted to highlight all of these different programs was to give you guys insight into all of the work that the division is doing. Anything that's related to a regulatory requirement, which involves us to go out on and do an inspection to ensure facilities are complying with the law, to follow up with any deficiencies, violations, anything like that is a direct service that is being provided per your permit fee. So now I want to talk about those proposed fees. I know that's why we're all here today. What are the changes that have come about and why? So when we approached our new fee structure in the fee development process, Contra Costa Health first started with a time study. We have data available to us electronically that tells us how long inspections are taking, for each type of facility that we regulate, regardless of, the category that you're in, we're able to be able and see how long a certain type of inspection would take. So for example, a CalARP audit or a underground storage tank inspection. Using all of that information in addition to other information, we were working with a third-party consultant who was able to come up with an hourly rate calculation. And then this resulted in what you guys saw on our website through our proposed fee structure, which is our flat fee. We have proposed fees for every single unified program for all of the different categories within those unified programs. Those fees have gone through an internal review where those of us at the division took a look at the time estimates to make sure that the time estimates are reasonable and fair as compared to the amount of time that it takes to do these inspections. And we also had an internal review and verification of the information before we finalized our proposed fee structure. And really, our goals in our fee structure were, number one, cost recovery. The Hazardous Materials Division is a fee-funded program, and we get those fees from our permit fees. We also wanted to have equitable fees. And what I mean by having equitable fees is, in our prior fee structure, there were certain fees where the calculation was not dependent upon only your business and your category, but other businesses in their categories. And that did not feel equitable. Your fees should really just be dependent upon how much material you have on site for different programs. We also wanted to make sure that we were aligning the fees with inspection times. And so we didn't want to be charging fees that implied that the inspection time was longer than what we know the current inspection time to be through our study. We wanted to have increased transparency. So our goal with these fees was to simplify the fees and make it very clear so that someone could take a look at the charts and say, I know that I am a hazardous materials business plan in a category of 1 billion or more pounds of material. This is the fee that I am going to be paying for that category. And then also in our fee goals, in our cost recovery, we are wanting to do improved customer service. And what I mean by that is that the fees are being used for salary and benefits. And we talked about earlier how we have added 3 new positions in the supervising hazardous materials specialist. Having those supervisory positions will allow us to ensure that we are following up with inspections in a timely manner, that we are keeping up with our inspection frequencies, that we are able to, put our attention to businesses getting back into compliance and not falling behind on inspection frequencies. We also are looking at improving the technologies that we're using that will help us connect with you when you have a question, getting the information that we need into our SIRS, and improving our electronic database, which is the method that we use to produce the inspection reports and follow up on any violations. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the cost drivers. So in the proposed fees, really the driver for us was the following categories: salary and benefits, which is about 80% of our cost; infrastructure and technology, which is about 15% of our cost; and then the rest, which is miscellaneous and 5% of our cost. Salary and benefits, I think that's very understandable, but for infrastructure and technology, this is the portion of the fees that we're using to make sure that, one, we have the latest technology and equipment that we need for being able to implement, our incident response and maintaining the vehicles that we use to go out and respond, do the air monitoring calibrations, and also for doing those necessary upgrades and improvements to our electronic reporting system to help get the information into SIRS, which is a state and legal requirement. And in terms of why the fees are going up so much, looking at the division expenses over the last 10 years, if we look at the fiscal year 2012 through 2013, the division's expenses, not counting anything related to our community warning system, were just about $8 million. In fiscal year 22-23, that amount was $9,353,000. And now our projected expenses for the division, which includes those 3 new supervising hazardous materials positions, is just over 10 million. So over the last decade of 2012, 2013 to 22, 23, expenses for the division have gone up 15%, and then will go up about another 8.4% for those projected expenses. Some other big changes into the CUPA fee structure include in hazardous waste generator, there's an introduction of a new category and fee for very small quantity generators. This fee had not been captured beforehand, and is really aimed at capturing the inspection time and the fact that these generators were not being charged because they were not disposing of any waste, but it is hazardous waste generation, not just disposal. We also have our hazardous materials business plan. We shifted from number of employees to number of chemicals. And the reason for this is we found number of chemicals was actually the truer indicator of how long an inspection is going to take versus the number of employees that a certain business had in their category. And then for the California Accidental Release Prevention Program, we have changed the entire methodology to base it on time with an add-on for risk. Beforehand, those who fell into the CalART program were evaluated entirely on risk, and the cost of the program was shared based on your proportion of the risk compared to the total risk number of facilities. And that was actually one of the most significant changes that we made in terms of shifting methodologies, but it did only affect a very small number of businesses. And then lastly, I want to talk a little bit about the community warning system. So for those of you who are not familiar, the community warning system is an all hazard system that's used in Contra Costa County. As it relates to hazardous materials, we use this system to alert the community about actions that they may need to take in the event of a hazardous materials release. The community warning system has had their fees collected by the hazardous materials division and then passed through to the community warning system. In our current fee structure, that is done in a proportional way for certain categories of the hazardous materials business plan. Right now, as it stands, that current fee structure only collects 50% of the current cost to operate the community warning system. So when we were doing our new fee structure, we had to develop a methodology to change in how the costs are distributed. And with the implementation of the program for refineries, regulation through the California Accidental Release Prevention, there was also a regulatory requirement for those of us who are CUPAs to develop a notification system. Luckily, in Contra Costa County, we have already had a notification system for many years, but we also took this as our opportunity to look at how those fees are distributed, with the bulk of the costs going to those who are higher utilizers, and therefore, the refineries taking on the larger burden of that share as directed through this requirement to have a notification system for refinery emergencies. A couple of other changes that we made to how the fees are collected for the community warning system was the introduction of a base fee for those who have terminals in which they can use to activate the community warning system. This proposed fee structure now allows for 100% cost recovery, both now and in the future, and more is charged to facilities that have a higher risk. So now the next steps really is the whole point of our meeting today is for us to be able to hear your feedback and as we are able to answer your questions. The next steps would be once we address all of the comments, there may or may not be some adjustments that we make to our proposed fee structure, which we would have to communicate out, but we are planning on August 13th to present our new fee proposal to the Board of Supervisors for the review and approval. Once approved by the Board of Supervisors, those new fees would go into effect, although for a majority of the businesses, you really would not see any changes until your next invoice in the 25-26 fiscal year. And so with that, I would like to open it up to any questions, and I'll leave the slide up here for those who want to get in contact with us. You can contact myself, Nicole Heath, or Adam Springer, our Assistant Director, at ccchazmat@cchealth.org. And aside from that, I'm going to open it up to comments. I'm going to start first with comments in the room, and then I will take comments online. Everybody who wishes to make a comment will have 3 minutes to comment. And so, yeah, I guess if you would like to make a comment, we can just have people raise their hands and I'll start from this side of the room and go around. So, do you have a comment you'd like to make? comment?
Question?
Questions or comments? Yes.
Okay. So just looking at see that the one, the warning system. So everybody pays into that, even though they don't have a base unit or don't use it?
That is a really great question, and thank you for bringing that up. So, Adam, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about how we distributed those fees. Let's see if, I think we might have a slide that also shows that breakdown. It is not every single business that will pay into that. So Adam, go ahead.
It's a certain category of business plan facilities pay that fee, as well as the base high risk fee. Let's see if I can pull that one up. So the facilities that are storing about 110 million and above of hazardous materials receive the community warning system fee. In addition to those high-risk facilities would receive a base fee for high-risk facilities of $28,071. So only a subsection of the facilities receive the CWS fee. It's actually a smaller percentage of facilities than in the previous fees that were done in 2011, 2012.
So the high risk, how you base that? So like part of the fees, the amount that you have on site, and the others is determined by your high risk. And what is determination for high risk?
That's you want to talk about the
Yeah, so the definition of high risk is actually very closely aligned to the definition that is found in our industrial safety ordinance to have a facility qualify. And that would be anyone who has a federal risk management program 3 or higher process on their facility. And so that really, it does equate to everyone right now who is currently subject to our industrial safety ordinance, and then some select program 3 facilities who are not in the industrial safety ordinance because they're not in either the city of Richmond or in an unincorporated portion of the county.
The oil refineries themselves pay the highest percentage of the fees. If you look at because their hazardous materials business plan permit type is HMPP and oil refineries, they pay the largest percentage of that fee.
I can imagine they kind of fit in both high risk and volume.
Yeah, and they have all the infrastructure too that ties into the sirens that go around each of the facilities and have the zones around those facilities that are triggered.
And Appendix E of our fee study, which is posted online, does show that breakdown for all of the different facilities.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, great.
Well, thank you. First of all, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to put this together for us. I know a lot of work has gone into it. If I can start with a clarification question first before the comment here, if I can. I had understood that the fees that we are currently being assessed were based on, as I understand it, the number of employees and the amount of hazardous material by pounds. There'd be various tiers based on that. First of all, I wanted to confirm that that's correct, and then if it is, ask, hey, what are the new criteria? How has that changed?
So that specifically for what you're talking about is the hazardous materials and business plan fees. So there were many things that slightly changed, but one of the biggest changes was the hazardous materials business plan fees. Originally, we had made those fees associated with, once you hit a higher tier, it had to do with the number of employees on site. And then the more employees you had on site, the more you pay. Well, in the analysis of time, when we did the estimates, it showed that it didn't correlate to the number of employees, it more correlated to the number of chemicals on site. So now in the new fees, we have, instead of number of employees, we have number of chemicals. And there's three categories on some of those HMBP type facilities that correlate to only, depending on how many chemicals you have. If you have more chemicals, you would be in a different tier within that subsection.
Is there like a summary or a breakdown somewhere?
So actually brought up on the
Thank you very
screen for
much.
people to see what those categories look like. So if you take a look for categories where you have in your HMBP or hazardous materials business plan, 10,000 or more, but less than 100,000, you'll see we have a breakdown for 1 to 15 chemicals, and then oh, sorry, no, it's 10,000, right? 10,000, but less than 100,000. Sorry, it's hard to see on the screen. And then we have that broken down as well for 16 to 50 chemicals and 51 plus chemicals. And we do the same thing for those who are in between 100,000, but less than 250,000, and then 250,000 or more, but less than 500,000
Is that pounds, gallons?
pounds.
Okay, so-
And that's pounds of the chemical, because I think the previous thing I'd seen before, it refers to product or inventory or something like that. And this is referring to the hazardous chemicals only, is that
Same.
correct?
Same criteria, maybe slightly different wording, but it's really the pounds of, that you've reported in SIRS. So we take that number of pounds, and some things have to be converted. If you have gases, of course, they were gonna convert that to pounds. But then that reporting would fall into this category, and then we would take that subset. If you have multiple chemicals, if you fall into those tiers, you can see how the first two tiers do not have number of chemicals associated with them. It's more the bigger facilities that have number of chemicals.
And you said that's the number of chemicals that have been reported in service for a given, within a year, is that correct, or is that?
Whatever you're reporting in the California Environmental Reporting System, so in SIRS, when you report by your March 1st deadline, you are reporting for the calendar year. So as of January 1st, you're supposed to then report by March 1st, your inventory on site. And so, yes, we would, whatever you put into SIRS and report to us, we use that category to determine your fees for that permit year.
You know, and I think more broadly in terms of just a general comment, I mean, part of the reason that obviously we're here is concern about the size of the increase in the fees. And, you know, I represent a packing company and a cooling company that uses ammonia for cooling. And you know, their view really is that they're paying a fee right now that is, you know, largely out of step with, you know, surrounding counties. I mean, their fee is, you know, in the 5 figures, and, you know, various counties with larger footprints or, you know, larger facilities are charging, you know, a fraction of that. And now they're looking at a fee that's under this proposal is going to go up now almost triple its existing fee, which is, again, their view is that fee is already, you know, well out of step. And so one thing that, you know, I think we have some concern about, you mentioned, Nicole, about, you know, equity of the fees. And, you know, the concern that we see is, you know, obviously there are large refineries and large chemical plants and, you know, that carry large risks and emissions and things like that, that some of these fees may be appropriate to. But we've got, you know, an ag facility or a number of ag facilities that really, that don't pose those same kinds of risks, but they're exposed to these, you know, these very large fees. And so part of my question or comment would be, has there been any consideration given to agricultural uses and perhaps segregating them out from those fees if they're into a different risk category, to make it, you know, look, again, more equitable, to assign, you know, the fees to you know, the things that make Contra Costa County unique in terms of risk and in terms of, you know, justifying the larger fees for other users. The other concern that we have is, you know, with these packing facilities, they're not operated year round. They're operated during, you know, seasons. You know, for in our case, we've got a corn packing that operates five months out of the year. But these fees are, you know, being charged for, you know, for this product that's being used throughout the year. So there's a concern, I think, on our part that the fee is, you know, and is tremendously large, And that the benefit, I think that you know, the risk that it's addressing and the benefit that it's been receiving is perhaps disproportionate and not equitable when it's being imposed on ag facilities versus, you know, some of the larger refineries and other pieces that are generating what we imagine would be the primary source of the regulatory need that we're seeing in the slide with the various employees.
Yeah,
This is
well,
Ron.
we compared with Fresno, and, you know, we're paying, on the current fee, we're paying 15 times what Fresno does. And 7 times what San Joaquin County does. 3 times what Kern County does. And that's with the existing fee, not with the proposed new fee. It's, you know, there's not much ag in Contra Costa, we're just a little bit out there in East County. About 10,000 acres, 12,000 acres, something like that. We do a pretty good job. We have a commodity called Brentwood sweet corn that's kind of recognized nationally as being of superior quality. If we could move a couple miles across the line, we'd save $80,000 a year just between the two of us, just the difference in the fee. So I guess my argument is more a political argument than an air quality argument, although I suspect that the air quality argument is that Brentwood's pretty clean relative to Martinez or relative to Richmond or these areas that are the major driving forces in Contra Costa County. But we try to be competitive, and it's hard to be competitive when we're going to be paying a $42,000 annual fee and Fresno's paying $1,000. It just doesn't make sense. And we have to be competitive to stay in business.
Thank you for your comments. You know, I will say that, you know, in looking at our considerations for methodology and the increases, we did not specifically discuss agriculture. But, you know, knowing your facility and knowing what is driving the increase of the cost, I think we will take the information that you guys have shared and we will take a look at our proposed fee structure and see if we think that there is any adjustments that can be made. I appreciate you sharing the information about the different counties. And one of the things that I did want to highlight is knowing that you have ammonia on site, which makes you applicable to the California Accidental Release Prevention Program. Contra Costa County is very unique in the fact that they do have a team of dedicated engineers who are the inspectors who will go out and visit the facilities. You know, I believe for your level facility, it is more than a week, about 2 weeks worth of time, you know, that's going, and that is what we have based our fee structure on, is the amount of time per inspection. But we will definitely take the opportunity to look at it and see, you know, if there is anything that we find that, you know, can be addressed within that structure.
I just am also a grower out in the Brentwood area, and they've covered a big portion of it. I had a little list here, but I'll cut it short. The one thing that ammonia is, it's a clean gas as far as the atmosphere and all, and what it forces you to do with those kind of fees, we're gonna be looking for R22 or something like that, which is, you know, that's not, it has ozone depletion and stuff like that. That you force grow. There's unintended consequences, you know, that you're looking to, I mean, you know, we can go across the San Joaquin County line, develop a facility there and, you know, hire employees from Stockton. I mean, we don't want to do that. We want to support Brentwood and East County. And I mean, that's where we grew up and where we'd like to stay. But I mean, these things push other decisions, especially as excessive as they are. I mean, I was noticing you talked about a 15% increase in costs and one thing and another. We're looking at 300% from an already, what I term, compared to the other counties, pretty excessive fee. And I would love to sit down and talk with someone about the actual process that goes on. As you said, the people that come out for 2 weeks, they spend it at our place. And we offer them an office and home. San Joaquin County, they must send someone out for 3 hours. I mean, I don't see how I would like to know why Contra Costa is so much different than them. We have books and all the regulatory stuff. And over a 3-year period, we have the exact same equipment. Nothing's changed. Yet they spend 4 days, 5 days on us, 3 people. That much time for books that were looked at, and there's been no changes. I don't understand and I'm sure maybe there's a really good logical reason. I'd love to hear at you know, an appropriate time. But anyway, it's just I hope you're able to rethink at it and look at it. And I appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk to you folks. Really do. Thank you.
Any comment?
Yes, so with the CWS, because that's a new one for us, the CWS fee in the headcount hierarchy that you guys showed earlier, does that include the 3 CWS staff, presumably?
CWC, the community warning system costs are, yes, they do have
The
3
three-
staff.
The 3 people that are on the CWS
Yes.
staff, correct?
Yes, we pay for that budget. They give us their budget. We take the fees that we collect and we pass it over to the sheriff's department who runs the community warning system.
Okay, and so, based on the equitable argument that's being made, what stands out to me is in the report that was sent out, the only things that we needed to increase from a fee perspective, all of the total fees for the county needed to only increase by 20% to reach full cost recovery. But we wanted to do an equitable argument or an equitable by facility. But what I'm hearing is it seems like it wasn't a 20% increase, like my facility, if I discard the CWS was 283% increase. If I add the CWS, it's 350% increase with the new CWS charge that was not otherwise annotated or observable in previous fees. So that's new and it's, we're all transparent, which is all fine and good. Now we're aware that we were only at a 50% recovery. It just doesn't seem like it's proportional, even as a support facility, to what we've historically seen. And then also, I think there was some points on air quality. I think we let the air district be the monitor of our Title V permits and let the hazardous materials folks be the regulators there. But I have, I had a few other comments, I guess, but they'll also be in our mail-in comment as well. The thing that's going to the Board of Supervisors, this is gonna be a proposed fee change to the Board of Supervisors to approve, is this correct?
Yes.
And that'll be coming up in what, I know we've communicated this already, but,
Yes, so we currently are on the schedule for August 13th.
okay. And so the comments that we're going over right now will be,
They will need to be addressed before that and incorporated into the report before bringing to the board.
okay. Because that's my biggest thing is we only have 3 people in the CWS. We were at a 50% recovery. All of a sudden, my facility, for instance, paying, let's say just $30,000 now a year. And then now we're also paying for training for the hazard materials, the staff, in addition to the 3 new staff. And so that's another cost incurrence. Yeah. To get to 100% recovery. I'm doing all the numbers, but we'll have better comments in the email or the letter we send in.
Thank you.
Yep.
And that is all the commenters that we had in the room. If you would like to make a comment for those of you who are joining us online, I'd ask that you please raise your hand now, and then I will go in order as I see it on my screen. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands raised to make comments. I will do one final call for comments before. Oh, there we go. Yes, Patrick Johnson, I'm going to be giving you the permission to speak. Okay, good. Patrick, go ahead. Your 3 minutes will start now.
Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I just wanted to know, as we're evaluating these fee increases, is there any information, with the exception of having dedicated hazmat response team, what additional burdens Contra Costa County has that would justify the differences in fee structure for ammonia-based cooling systems compared to other counties throughout the state of California? Kind of on to the point of that equitable fee structure, and there's just such a disparity. So I'm just wondering, what additional burdens does the county of Contra Costa have that is unlike any of the other counties that we evaluate their fee structure? Is that listed in the Appendix E rate study that you guys did?
So our fee study and proposed fee structure that we have online does break down for every single program that is applicable to your business, the new fees and the methodology behind the fees and the increase. I am suspecting that you're probably with our other members here in the community that commented, stating that you had ammonia, seeing an increase because of the significant change that we made to the CalARP fees. Again, one of the things that I did just want to highlight here, but we will also provide a very thorough written response on this, is the fact that for those of you who are in the California Accidental Release Prevention Program, probably one of the biggest differences you're seeing is that we do have a dedicated team who is sending out teams of people for multiple days, in some cases, multiple weeks, depending on your program level, to perform the inspections. And as we shifted from our risk-based methodology to time-based methodology, there has been some significant increases seen to facilities. As I stated beforehand, though, I do thank everyone for the information, and we will be reviewing that as part of our comment and response process.
Great. Is there an opportunity for us to see the result of that discussion prior to the August 13th Board of Supervisors proposal?
Yes, so when we do our proposal, when we do our response to all of the comments, that will need to be amended to the current fee report that we have online. And we can put a communication out to everybody to let them know that those responses have been drafted, as well as anyone who sends an individual comment will receive a direct response from us.
Okay, so if we've sent in a letter of comment, we will surely be notified of the change in any.
That is correct. And
Okay.
also for those who have made comments here in person or on Zoom at this meeting, I have been collecting information from everyone in attendance so that we can respond to your comments.
Great, thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. Okay, the next hand I have raised is for David Schoenthal. David, you should be able to speak now, and we can start your 3 minutes.
Hey, Nicole, can you hear me right now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. A two-part question. One, just confirmation on the Board of Supervisors schedule. As you said, I miscaught it. Is it October 13th to vote on this, or August 13th?
August 13th.
Okay, thank you for that. And then based on your chart, you have 9 people who are working there, and you added 3, or you're planning to add 3. And just looking at your cost considerations from, between last year and this year, I got the number at about, it's 888,000, just under 900,000. That's the increase that you're seeking. Is my math correct, or am I missing something?
I apologize, I had not done the math directly, but I believe the numbers that you're referring to is the 10,241,550 projected expenses.
Correct.
Compared to the 9,353,249.
Correct.
Yes, that is correct. I will say though that in there, I do not have the expenses listed for fiscal year 23-24 or 24-25. So I did the 10-year comparison and then the projected with the 3 new positions. So when I stated that we were going from a 15% increase to the new projected, adding on another 8.4, some of that increase is increases that have already been incorporated in those other 2 fiscal years, that were not a result of the 3 new positions.
So it's about, and I appreciate that. Thank you for making sure we're both clear on the numbers that I'm referring to and that you're clarifying. And really, the piece of it is that 3 people guesstimating on their salaries around, I'm going to just guesstimate 375 to 400,000. And your biggest portion in your pie that you provided is benefits. And so when you equate that out to all the things that you're tracking, that your team is tracking and attempting to identify and regulate, it's very interesting to me that really the biggest piece of the pie is benefits and salary versus, there's still that the pie was actually very small for the tools and resources and things you're doing. So I mean, I'm not opposed, and we just want to really understand where the money is going to and how it's being done transparently. So it's just a comment, less a question and more a comment, Nicole.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other additional comments online? I'm not seeing any additional hands raised. Last call for comments from those who are online and Zoom. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. That concludes our meeting for today. As I had stated earlier, this recording will be posted online. Unfortunately, it looks like I lost my host abilities, but I'm hoping it's still recording this section. The next steps will be for us to continue our comment period, which closes on July 17th. So for those of you who wish to submit a formal comment, you still have time to do so. Then we will be responding to those comments and posting our response to comments as well as sending direct responses before our anticipated August 13th board meeting, of which we will be presenting these fees for approval. Thank you very much, everyone who joined us online, and for those of you who joined us here today, I appreciate it very much.
Where do you go to the board?